think this is going to be a very key encounter on board number 2 as we also come back to the icon board. David, do you have a favorite on this board? Do you think that someone's stronger here?
Ooh, that's a very good question, Saga. These two are very well matched, both in terms of rating, strength, history. However, White has tended to score well in recent history between these two, especially in the faster time limits. And okay, they're off. And we should mention it's the top 2 boards beginning first. It is a staggered start.
Yes.
So boards 3, 4, 5, 6, they will be starting a bit later.
Yeah, exactly. 2 minutes later will be the next 2 boards beginning. For now, it's just the top 2 boards. We have the Sicilian opening on board number 1. Very interesting what this is leading to.
Yeah, the Sicilian defense, it is well known as a really fighting opening. So Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, we've talked about it out there in the studio. With black, you get extra points for a win. And he has signaled his intention, Saga. He wants to fight. He wants to at least open up the possibility of trying to score that all-important victory here on the icon board.
Right, and I think this is going to be a very fighting game. Not to forget that there's no increment here, so the players are going to be absolutely very careful with their clock time usage. They could end up under big time pressure if they don't use it well. But both Hikaru and MVL known for their speed chess.
That's right. Both of them fantastic at rapid chess, which is this time limit. The players have 20 minutes on the clock for the entire game. No increments, so some really scary scrambles guaranteed a bit later. But they're also fantastic at blitz, bullet, saga, and all of those speed skills will be needed later.
Absolutely, and right now it's MVL who's just brought his knight out, and Hikaru is absolutely blitzing his moves here.
Yeah, really showing off the speed. Showing off the confidence as well. We can see the clock just behind the board, and Hikaru, he's only used 30 seconds up to this point. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is known to be the fastest player on the tour, pretty much, on the circuit, but he's burning a bit of time, and here we go, boards 3 and 4 beginning.
Aha, there we have Koneru Hampi versus Bibisara Asaubayeva, the 2-time World Blitz champion in 21-22. Bibisara is a speed monster.
Yeah, so quick, so confident, and so tricky, Bibisara. And with the white pieces, she'll be aiming to strike, but we have to talk about Humpy there. Such a classy player herself.
Absolutely there, Humpy being India #1 for years. And there we have board number 3, David. Peter Swidler playing with the black pieces, who could well have been here with us in the commentary room, but actually is now part of the Mumba Masters team.
That's right, fan favourite, Master Svidler, Peter Svidler there. And I know he would love to be here commentating with us, but he is doing what he does best. He's playing world-class Peter Svidler, and we'll come back to that game later. We will update everyone on all the boards, of course, but this is our icon matchup. It's a very block position, Saga, no exchanges. All the pieces still on this board at the early stage.
Right, let's try to dive into this position because there are so many imbalances here. Hikaru does have a very, very strong knight in the center, and you can see MVL looking around. He also wants to make sure how his teammates are doing.
Yeah, we will see that a lot throughout the tournament, throughout the Global Chess League. We will see the players look over at other boards, understand what they need, how much risk to take. Often that is dictated by how their teammates are getting on. This is team chess. It's very unique, very different from the usual. But Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, a look over at the clock there as well. He's spending time, he's looking nervous.
Right, and there we have our board here. A pawn moving to 1 step ahead here has been the last move, and we can see on the screen the win probability at the top. You can see white is maybe very slightly better here, David, but it's too early to say anything. We are just 10 moves into the game, and we can see right now MVL taking his time. He's down to 17 minutes on the clock, while Hikaru Nakamura has 19 minutes 33 seconds.
Yeah, it might sound like a lot of time, 17 minutes, but that will quickly disappear. And remember, they don't gain any time after every move. So what you have on the clock is what you're left with for the entire game. If it's a 100-move game, you're going to struggle a bit later on. We should mention two main things, Saga. Probability, as you mentioned, white here, slightly favoured. Also, there is an evaluation bar on the left of your boards. White, black, it says level right now, but watch out for that one swinging in all of the games a bit later on.
Yeah, exactly, with the bar on the left and the win probability and also the timers there. And meanwhile, we have the last two boards also beginning. There we have the prodigy board between Jonas Beer and Raunak Sadhwani.
It's Denmark against India on this board. Two very young and very, very talented players. Raunak with the black pieces has opened with the Karo Khan defense. Again, all of the players signaling their intentions not to play solid. They know extra points with black means risk is encouraged. And early days here, of course, but Raunak looks very calm.
And David, they have played against each other 8 times and their score is 4-4 against each other, which is really very, very well balanced. And the small insight is that every time the black player has won.
That is crazy. We will come back to that board, Jonas Bjerg against Raunak Sadhwani. Maybe it's a good thing to be black. In the meantime, we have Elizabeth Pates, long-time German #1, against Harika here. And again, early days, these two know each other extremely well. They've played many times. A lot of mutual respect between these two. But this might be where the match is decided, Saga, on the lower boards.
Yeah, I think Joanka really pointed out something very interesting in the introduction. She said it's a match of two halves. I think the American Gambits slightly favored on the top half, and the Mumba Masters maybe slightly favored in the bottom half.
That's right. It's going to be interesting to see how those dynamics play out as Elizabeth Pates fights for the centre. She actually goes for a bit of a queen's gambit. We'll talk about that later, but she offers a pawn in the opening in return for time, for space, for energy for her pieces. And, of course, early days here.
Yes,
Saga.
the famous Catalan opening, as they call, and right now Elizabeth is like, okay, take my pawn, Harika, if you want it. I'm going to just quickly develop. I think Magnus Carlsen really loves this opening with white.
All of the top players, they love this opening with white. For anyone on the black side, myself included, it's a real struggle against the Catalans. So early stages, of course, here, Elizabeth Pates may be winning the opening battle. She's forced Harika to burn a bit of time on the clock at least. And, okay, quick continuation here as the players dig deep. Still the opening stages. The opening is normally when the players fight for the center, bring their pieces out towards the middle, fight for ground, fight for control over squares. And once the kings jump to safety a bit later on, then we'll see the start of the middle game. Okay, so Harika here pondering her move, and she defends her bishop. Back to the icon board. In the meantime, however, still, this is rare. All 32 pieces still on the board. Nothing has been traded. Nothing has been exchanged. It's very cagey stuff. Saga, do you feel the players, they're just building up here, just warming up into the game?
Yeah, and also Hikaru has started to burn his time as well, because Maxime has come up with a very interesting concept, because he's just slided his rook over, and David, he's planning to push the pawn 2 squares forward here.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's what he's done. Oh, look at this. It's all chaos on the queen side here.
That was the calm before the storm. Now it's this box, this square that you've highlighted there in red, Saga. That's where we're looking. All focus on the left side of your board, the queen side, where there's so much tension. It was the commentator's curse. I said all pieces, all pawns still on the board. We're about to see the position explode.
Yeah, and right now Hikaru's bishop is hiding behind this pawn, looking right at this diagonal. And you know, generally in chess, you want to quickly castle your king and put it to safety. But David, because the pawn has moved forward, perhaps that could be quite risky.
Very risky. And Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, we see the win probability as well. They're only down at 39%, down a couple of minutes on the clock. Big questions about the black king. Once the center does explode, once the pieces start to disappear and the board clear up, that's when we'll start to see the tactics, the tricks, the complications. Right now, very strategic, but definitely the calm before the storm. And Saga, I have to jump into board 2 now, where we see the Polish player Duda against a good friend of yours, Vidit.
Yeah, Vidit has been in tremendous form recently. He won the gold medal at the Olympiad, but Jan Krzysztof Duda has had a plus score against him. So this is going to be quite an intense battle. As you can see, both the players super focused there. And on the clock, David, not much to choose between the two because both of them down to around 15 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, still early stages in this game, but that is key. The psychology of this match. The player on the left side, Duda, with a strong head-to-head score against his opponent. Often, Saga, it's hard to break that. Every player has a kryptonite, a nemesis that they struggle against. And style-wise, Duda, a very aggressive, creative, attacking player. Maybe Vidit will struggle against that today.
Yes, and David, the game is already getting quite concrete. If you see right now with its last move, he brought his bishop out, attacked the queen slid over to the square, and maybe they trade the bishops.
Bishops look like they're leaving the board, those light squared bishops. But it's also about the kings. It's a bit of a mirror image, very similar to the Maxime Vachier-Lagrave game, board 1 in this matchup, where the black king yet to choose a side, yet to find safety in the corner.
But I'm also very, very surprised with the win probability bar at the top. It says 72% for white. Wow, that's amazing.
Wow, especially at this early stage of the game. I'm a bit skeptical. I don't think it should be that high. I think black still has his fair share of the chances. Nothing too dramatic has happened yet. Black is far from lost, but white's position easier to play. If you look at the pieces, white has a few more in the center of the board. The black king still stuck in the middle. Hence, the computer's evaluation, or at least the objective evaluation of white having an advantage right now.
And Duda slowly building up a time edge over here. He has now 2 extra minutes on the clock as compared to Vidit there. He's moved his queen over, and David, right now Vidit is not making a decision. He's not able to decide whether he should trade the bishops or not.
Yeah, he needs to speed up Vidit. This is still very early days. He's only made 11 moves. This is move number 12. The critical moments in the game normally end up around move 35, move 40. That's when the real crisis, the climax of the game begins. So this is simply too slow from Vidit right now. He's not enjoying his position, but you know him so well, Saga. What's going through his mind? How's he going to fight back and stay alive in this game?
You can look at him. He's like kind of vibing there. He's getting himself totally focused. But if you look at Duda, he's still as a rock. He's just completely at ease.
That's a telltale sign, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you have like a spectators in the zone and everyone's looking at you, you do feel that bit of stress. But I think Duda is that big match player who's not feeling any nerves.
He's the Iceman. He's ice cold. And wow!
Whoa, what a move there!
Vidit sacrifices his knight. He's just initiated chaos. He's pressed the chaos button. And look at this, Saga. We're both shocked because black has given up his knight in the center. He is counterattacking against the white queen. There's some tension between the dark squared bishop suddenly. And wow, maybe not improving his chances. We see the probability not shift right now. But Vidit, at least, he's fighting back. He's trying to shoot his shot.
Oh, and what a move there, David. I guess did Vidit preempt this. The pawn moves up and you cannot take this pawn because if the bishop took the pawn, the rook would capture back and there is a pin here. Right in the center.
Yeah, this is really dramatic stuff. This might be the first decided game of this matchup. Vidit, I'm not sure he saw it coming, Saga. Otherwise, he would have reacted quicker, sooner. His hand is lingering now over his pieces. He has to retreat his bishop. But this is the downside to keeping your king in the center too long. Don't try it at home, kids. Kings need to hide to safety, and Vidit still struggling to achieve that.
And this one is a game of pins, David, here. Right in the center, white has a pin. The bishop is pinning the pawn, so it's going to get very, very intense.
It already is very intense. This is crazy, this position. And Duda thrives in this type of situation. Remember, we mentioned he's a very creative attacking player, and this is his dream type of position. So Vidit living life on the edge, both on board and clock. And we'll come back to this game in a moment.
Right, and now going to the Yu Yangi versus Peter Swidler battle. This one is going to be a very, very important one. But, David, we have something truly unbelievable that's building up here. This is actually getting very intense because Peter Swidler has taken more time on the clock, although it's Yu Yangi's move. But you can already sense that the white pieces are much better positioned than black.
Yeah, just a brief scan is enough to realize that white is in the ascendancy right now. White has an advantage. I'm not going to say dominant yet because black is still solid. And I do feel there's a missed opportunity there potentially on the last move. Peter Svidler, very expressive, Saga. We know him as a commentator, as a world-class grandmaster, winner of a World Cup. But, okay, he gave away some expressions there. He looked relieved as he gets his king to safety.
Maybe we can just go a move behind David here. We see that black had made a big error at this moment. You need to explain to us what went wrong because of that knight coming out.
Yeah, we see the 2 question marks appear, the red circle appear with that last knight move. This did allow a winning move already for white. Bishop takes pawn on e6.
It was a sacrifice.
It was a sacrifice, but missed by Yu Yangyi. A golden opportunity. This would have sacrificed a bishop in return for 2 pawns, and when the white knight jumps in, black's position is on the brink of collapse. The bishop is attacked, as you're pointing out there. The knight is just monstrous. An octopus knight, we call it, with tentacles all over the place, controlling 8 squares, and the black king would never, ever be able to castle. But missed by Yu Yangyi, and Peter Svidler lives a charmed life right now.
As we see, the move that was so natural to just get your king to safety with castling turned out to be not the best one, and Peter Svidler is back in the game. Good news for Mumba Masters there.
Good news for Mumba Masters, good news for Peter Svidler fans, and there are a lot of them out there. He looks away, checking out his teammates' games maybe. There are screens in the playing hall, so he's checking out the progress of his teammates. And yeah, Peter Svidler, fantastic, a legend of the game, but he dodged a bullet there.
Absolutely. So right now the match is looking pretty evenly balanced, although we know that Duda for the American Gambits is doing slightly better on board number 2. And there we see the pairings there on your screen. You have the 6 players pitted against 6 from the American Gambits against Upgrad Mumba Masters. And right now the last move that was played was Yu Yangyi getting the rook right into the center of the board. This is now the phase of middle game building up. And there we have all the 6 cameras there. Which one would you like to go, David? Here, I think maybe it's logical to keep moving in the 4th port direction.
Let's do that. Let's take a peek at all of the boards. There's actually some drama happening potentially on board 4. We will actually jump back to the icon game, which started first a bit later. But first, this board. And it's another dominant position for white. We talked about Bibrisara Asurbaeva, former World Blitz champion twice. And she started this game on fire.
Wow, look at this position that we have on our board, and Bibisara is so focused right now. She's completely into the game because she has a big opportunity here. Look at this, David. The knights in the center, the bishop opening up on the diagonal. Humpy's pieces are not really playing that much in the game.
Yeah, sometimes a simple look at the centralization of the pieces is enough. Looking at the middle of the board, if you control the midfield, you control the game. You can choose which flank to attack on later, and white, all of her pieces now in the center. Her knight is attacked, Saga. She might have to retreat it, but black is really struggling. I think Humpy trying to keep a poker face right now as, wow, an exchange.
Oh, she takes the knight. She chops it off, but it's a small question mark there, although white's advantage still remains pretty solid here, David.
That's right, white is still in the driver's seat, but a questionable decision. We do say that knights on the rim are dim, knights on the side, you just definitely don't want them. They might just fall off the board, and that exchange may be improving Humpy's chances as black here.
Right, and I think it's a little bit similar to what happened with Peter Svidler there on board number 3. Mumba Masters starting out a bit shaky fashion here.
Definitely. We talk about white, black. Normally with white, it's like having the serve in tennis. And the white side here, the American Gambits, they've all started strong. But the Mumba Masters riding their luck. They're still alive in the middle game in all of the boards right now. And maybe we'll zoom out now that Humpy has ridden that storm.
But you still think that Bibisara is doing well here, because you can see like her bishop here is tremendously active. The rook is looking at the queen here. I think white still pressing here, David.
Definitely. I think we would all choose white here. Anyone who has played the Catalan opening and that type of position where the white light squared bishop does stare down this long, long diagonal, I think this is the dream. But she isn't ahead on pieces, isn't ahead on material. There's no tangible advantage, so still, Humpy is fighting, she's alive. And this is a game we'll check back in on a bit later.
Right, and Bibisara is actually running down on the clock, David. It's going to be so stressful when we'll get down to 5 minutes on the clock and time to go to our fifth board here, the battle between Elizabeth Pates and Harika. You can look at Harika there on your screen. She is so intensely looking at the board.
That's right, Harika there, just the body language betrayed the fact she's getting a bit excited, and that is because on this board it's a total switch around. The Mumba Masters, they're ahead, they've got an extra pawn.
And David, being better with black is so important in this tournament because you get 4 points for the win here. So Harika might be doing a huge favor for her team by just pressing here.
That's right, and I must admit, my counting wasn't up to scratch, Saga. Black has 2 extra pawns.
2 extra pawns there, but they are a little bit, you know, doubled up. But you can see Harika's last move just connecting everything together.
Yeah, that black bishop is the glue for black's position right now. She's protecting everything. It doesn't look too dramatic. White controls the center, but there were fewer pieces on the board, so that is a less relevant fact right now. It's all about counting, all about looking at those extra pawns, and any endgame now, Saga, is just winning for black. If the queens disappear, Harika's going to win.
Absolutely. I think Elizabeth Pates has to put in her thought and time into this to figure out a way to just muddy the waters in some way, and that could mean by pushing her pawn in the center, either this one or this one. She has to take her opportunities here, but really good news for the Mumba Masters here on board number 5. You can see MVL there right behind the icon board looking back because he needs to see what's happening on other boards.
He does. He has some big decisions. He's made some big decisions, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave on board 1, and I think we should jump back there very shortly. Maybe just a brief check-in on board 6 to make sure we've covered the whole round, all 6 boards, and then it will be back to Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and those icons as they approach the time scramble. Remember, everyone, they started first, so they will be reaching the critical moments before the rest of the tables.
Absolutely, David. This one is a game where I think Raunak Sadhwani is the slight rating favorite. Also with the black pieces, he really would want to score this win for his team. But Jonas Baer was the big star of the last Global Chess League. He helped his team, Triveni Continental Kings, win the entire event.
That's right. He was the star of the show. He had a really rocky path, but when the chips were down, when he needed, when his team needed him, he stood up and managed to win. So Jonas Baer has a mixed experience of the Global Chess League. In the meantime, though, Raunak, he was pretty much staring us down on the camera. I think he was just waiting for the action to happen, because look at the win probability. It's slightly in black's favor, but it's a very blocked position right now, Saga.
Right, but also, David, do you feel like the white's pieces are just better coordinated? Look at these 2 pieces bearing down on this diagonal, the 2 rooks stacked up on this line, the knight trying to just get into the position. It's looking really good for Jonas.
I fully agree. That's why I'm surprised the win probability right now. I think Jonas maybe getting a bit excited about his position, but still, black has everything covered for now. That's the key. If you can plug all the holes, prevent anything immediate happening, then you might get long-term chances. So this game, a bit of a long grind. We'll see the action happening a bit later. I think we need to zoom out and check out our icon board.
Yes, and right now, David, the match is very interestingly poised because Bibisara is doing really well on the top, on the 4th board. Meanwhile, Harika is doing very well for the Mumba Masters on board 5. So in that way, this match is quite balanced. It might be that Jonas Baer might be the one who can give American Gambits that small edge for the team.
That's right. Things are going to get really cagey as the clocks tick down. This one is hanging in the balance. No clear favorite in this match between the American Gambits and the Mumba Masters, as we see all of the players. This is the tension building now, Saga. All of them looking super focused as they know the stakes are getting higher and higher. Some players in trouble, some doing very well, but it's all about the result. That's the only thing that matters.
Right, and right now, Hikaru versus MVL, we are now getting down on the clock here. Hikaru has just 6 minutes, 30 seconds left, while MVL has 9 minutes on the clock. That's a big time edge here, David.
Huge, huge advantage to have extra time on the clock, especially in this format. It's a bit of a turnaround, at least in the clock, compared to what we saw earlier. We saw Maxime Vachier-Lagrave start this game very slowly. But there's also been drama on the board. In terms of the piece count right now, Saga, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, as is his habit, has sacrificed. He's down the exchange, a rook for a knight right now. He's got a couple of pawns, but this one, it's really heating up. This is hanging in the balance. I have a feeling something crazy is about to happen.
Yeah, I can literally sense the white king being slightly weak there. There's space all around him. If somehow, David, the pawn moves ahead, the queen starts looking at the white king, this is going to be quite dangerous.
Yeah, he's going to strike Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. He's just pausing. This is what all the top players do. When they sense a critical moment, when things are about to change, heat up, the pace is about to accelerate, that's where they stop and calculate, and we're seeing this play out. We're seeing it happen, I think. Hikaru Nakamura pushing a pawn even further down the board. He's lower on the clock, but he has something to suffer for, something to hold on to, his extra rook for knight. That's a 5-point, the 3-point advantage. And wow. This one is going to be decisive either way.
I think there are very few draws that are going to happen here, David, because even if the game is equal, the moment the clock starts to tick down, the players will make errors. And right now you can see Hikaru's move was very interesting. He just plonked the pawn right into the center of the board, just disconnecting the queen from the attack.
Wow, clever move, multi-purpose move. Remember, everyone, if a pawn gets to the other side of the board, it becomes a new queen. It can become any piece you want. So he's 2 squares away from touchdown right now, but the white king position is so loose. It's falling apart, Saga. He's going all in to try and promote his pawn, but will he pay the price for neglecting king safety?
I'm amazed with the way in which MVL has just taken this game to his opponent. I think Hikaru has to make some critical decisions now, because even the bishop could start to sit here, and the pawn is so close to the white king. I think the bar is showing it as equal, but David, what's your take as a human, strong player? What is your feeling?
Oh, I would be terrified if I were Hikaru Nakamura. He very rarely betrays his emotions. At least we see the shakes of the head, but that's normally when he's confident enough to still control things. Right now, oh, I think panic is going through his mind. The clock is ticking down. He's about to reach the 5-minute mark.
Ooh, and right now Hikaru has to make a move. He has to make a decision. Does he capture the pawn, David? Can he take it? No, he doesn't. He doesn't take the pawn. He moves his rook. And the bishop drops back.
The bishop protects its queen right there, blocking the line, blocking that B line we see. And yeah, the problem is, if you remove the black pawn near the white king, then your own strength, your own pride and joy of the position falls.
Ah, you lose this pawn.
That's right.
So that's the decision that Hikaru is taking. Should he go for this pawn and give up his central pawn, or should he keep it? It's a double-edged decision. Meanwhile, we do see Master Swidler there in action. He's on our screen right now. Back to the top board. Bishop drops back. Hikaru is being very ambitious here, David. He's not giving up his pawn. Will this backfire?
Oh, this is a huge, huge decision. One that he might well regret a bit later. He's allowed a black pawn to sit near the white king. There's going to be all sorts of checkmating patterns, or checkmating nets, we call it, in chess, around that white king a bit later. Imagine the black queen ever landing on that king side. That would be fatal. But he's backing his own pawn. He's gambling on the fact that Maxime Vachier-Lagrave still needs to do the business, still needs to coordinate the black pieces. And there aren't that many of them.
Right, and as MVL is thinking and has 7 minutes on the clock, we have some big news that is pouring in from the second board between Vidit and Jan Krzysztof Duda. It seems like Jan Krzysztof Duda is completely on the offensive and in a winning position against Vidit Gujarati. So the American Gambits really striking hard on board number 2 here.
Wow, we talked about it earlier. Vidit has struggled against Duda historically and struggling again today. We see him kind of bouncing up and down there, trying to get the energy, the adrenaline pumping. That's what players do. It's a bit of a habit, but only when they know they're in trouble, and he knows he's suffering right now. Duda actually has sacrificed a bishop White has given up a piece, but look at the camera there. White's pawn in the center is 1 square away from touchdown, and it's the black king that he's hunting ferociously right now, Duda.
Absolutely. Although Duda is missing a bishop in his position, he does not care. His remaining pieces on the board more than compensate for it. In fact, Vidit is so stuck right now. He has just 4 minutes on the clock and is unable to find his way through it. You can literally look at the board here, guys. Look at the pawn on the 7th rank. Vidit Gujarati completely paralyzed there.
Totally paralyzed. The black pieces are not coordinated. The black queen, look at her. She's so far away from her own king. Queens are very strong defenders, necessary defenders. I call it when a king and queen are divorced, and that's when you get attacked. That's when the black king will be powerless against an attack.
Right, and actually Vidit not just in trouble over the board, but also on the clock. Just 3 minutes, 20 seconds left for him, and Duda as cool as a cucumber there sitting, and there we have the board, guys. Look at this. The pawn has just moved forward. The black king is shuddering in the corner.
Oh, this is so difficult. How do you defend this? Even with 1 hour on your clock, there's no obvious moves for black. You have to get the black queen back somehow, but it's too slow. She's so far away. He tries to block the king side. I think a very good practical decision by Vidit. But look at that. On the left side of the board, we see the evaluation bar rise. It's nearly all.
It's all over. It's like Duda has a huge winning blow at his disposal. But maybe it's a check going right down there. Maybe sacrificing the queen there.
Yeah, sometimes you got to give one to get one. And that would be a queen sacrifice, but a new queen might be reborn from those ashes if he were to give a check right now. I think that's one of many strong moves. And that's Vidit's problem here, Saga. Vidit has no time. Duda has all the options, all the time in the world. 6 minutes is more than enough when you're this dominant.
And Duda is such a world-class player. He's not going to botch this up. So it feels like this game is really going down to American Gambits' hands. So Mumba Masters have to strike somewhere. Either it's MVL who has to strike on the icon board, but it's still equal with Hikaru staying strong. Where is the win for Mumba Masters coming in?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think they'll need a bit of luck somewhere. Mumba Masters, they're in trouble on this board. We see Duda land a rook deep behind enemy lines. Look at how White has just invaded the black camp. Black's pieces just struggling for air, struggling for breath. Also, down on board 4, Bibisara Asobaeva, we talked about how she was in control. Mumba Masters struggling there. The American Gambits, big favourites to win this match overall.
There's only one hope for Mumba Masters right now, and that is the big one there on board number 5. Harika has to strike against Elizabeth Pates if Mumba Masters needs to have any chance to kind of fight for this match.
This is it. This is where the pressure is on Harika with black. She is ahead. We talked about the material. It's now down to 1 pawn advantage. It is still complicated, but it does feel like she's got control. Body language, super focused again. Saga, I think she might well take this, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, I mean, that win will definitely set the tone for her team, and then maybe MVL has to strike against Nakamura on board number 1. But for now, Harika has just moved her queen into the position and offered a trade. Maybe it's not the best move there, but we are back at board number 2. Now Vidit versus Jan Sistov Duda. I guess there might be a decisive result coming in. Vidit plays his queen, and we have a result.
We have a result. It was a peaceful draw in the end on board 3. Yu Yangi, he had that one golden opportunity, Saga, but he missed it just after the opening. And ultimately, it was very peaceful from there on in.
So a good result there for Peter Swidler and the Mumba Masters team. Draw. So everything's even with 5 more games to go. And maybe it's time for us to go back to the icon board, David.
That's right. We see Peter Swidler just checking out his teammates' results. He's going to be aiming to pass on some good vibes there, pass on some luck. But this is where we might well see the next result. The first decisive result of Season 2 of the Global Chess League. Vidit, I think he might be facing a forced checkmate in the next few moves.
Right, and as this game is going in Duda's favor, it might be a very good time to check Hikaru Nakamura versus MVL there. We are seeing the position of Hikaru and MVL on our screen. And there we see Hikaru being slightly under pressure. And David, they have just 2 minutes left for Hikaru. 2 minutes 30 seconds and 3 minutes 20 seconds for MVL.
Yeah, we talk about the clock, but it might well become the most relevant factor. We actually saw the queens disappear. No more checkmating attacks. We're in the endgame now. But if Maxime Vachier-Lagrave sees his team are in trouble, he might try to win on the clock. He might just try to keep the game going as long as possible and flag, as we call it. Just time out Hikaru Nakamura. It might be necessary to be a bit dirty now, Saga, to just dig deep and try to do it for the team.
And Hikaru is shaking his head. He's not happy with his position because black has plenty of pawns for the rook. You can see there Hikaru moving his bishop, moving it back. He's not sure whether he should go for this or not.
Wow, he might look calm on the exterior, but Hikaru Nakamura in a bit of trouble. Look at the clock, under 2 minutes now. We did see Duda and Vidit there leave the arena. It was a win for Duda. And here the American Gambits, they just need to hold.
Yeah.
Hikaru in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And Hikaru needs to hold here because Duda has done his job. But right now the position looks around even. The king moves back.
Yeah, this position, he's holding for now on the board, but it's all about the clock. 1 minute 40 is not that much, especially when the pieces start flying. And it's going to be hard to avoid all the traps forever due to the number of black pawns that are just lurking all over the board.
Right, and Hikaru is a speed monster. He sees things at the speed of lightning. There he's attacked the pawn, but MVL moves in with his king. What's going to happen here, David? I am actually quite unsure. Do you think that Hikaru will be able to hold this?
Ooh, I think if he had 10 minutes on his clock, he would hold this in his dreams. He would hold it asleep. But it's not easy with the clock situation. He's trying to build what we call a fortress. He's trying to control all the squares, lock things down, and not let black break through. So Maxime Vachier-Lagrave a bit frustrated right now. Oh, it's all about the clock, Saga. I have a feeling that's where this will be decided.
And also, if you see here, the knights are the trickiest creatures when it comes to less time. They jump from here to there, and Hikaru has pushed his pawn forward. Very tricky move. And MVL takes it, gives a check. Oh my goodness, is Hikaru winning now?
Wow, this is crazy. Some weird stuff just happened.
Yeah, he's just going, he can just... No, there's something went wrong.
Something has happened here. I don't believe he actually took that pawn on g4. The black knight is still alive.
He took here, right.
There was a trick, Saga.
Got it. He took the pawn. The pawn took here, and he's moved his king back. You can see Hikaru actually looking upwards there.
Looking upwards, not necessarily praying to the heavens, instead just checking out the score on the doors right now, checking out the other boards, knowing that a draw for him, draw for Hikaru Nakamura would be a great result right now. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave struggling to keep the black knight alive. He's playing for tricks, but a pawn drops, and this game looks destined for a draw now. Level on time now, Saga. It feels like the players are going to neutralize each other here, the two icons.
Right, and David, the only thing that can create some chaos here is the clock. But you can see both players down to 1 minute. Oh, they are repeating, and a draw is agreed. A big result there for American Gambits. Both players smiling there.
Wow, that was dramatic. Hikaru Nakamura with a big sigh of relief. He was in trouble on the board and clock, but ultimately he held. And let's check out the drama happening elsewhere.
Right, they are analyzing their games. We have a scene from the board number 2 as how it ended between Vidit and Duda, because that gave the American Gambits their win. This is how it all finished there. He took the pawn, Duda gave a check, Vidit moved his king to the side, and finally the queen took the pawn. Vidit gave his hand in resignation. White won there, giving 3-point lead.
It actually ended in checkmate, that last game, and this is another game that could well end in White's favor in checkmate. If Jonas Bjerre is accurate, White is winning, but he only has less than 3 minutes right now, and he has to be accurate, otherwise we could see a full 360, a full turnaround. He finds the winning move, Saga.
Wow, he gives up his bishop, gives a check. Is there a mate, David, or has he just given up a piece? Because he moves his queen in, gives a check. Is it a checkmate? David, you need to tell us.
Oh, I think a checkmate isn't yet going to be on the board, but it might be coming. And in order to stave off the checkmate, in order to just stay alive, black is going to have to give up too many pieces. Right now, black actually has an extra rook, but it's all about king safety. Chess is all about checkmate, and the black king, we talked about it earlier, once he's so far divorced from its queen, there's no defense. He's going to have to hide in no man's land, and Jonas Bjerre just, wow, playing a masterpiece right now.
Insane. American Gambits are rising to the occasion today on day one. Jonas Bjerre, who was slightly, you can say, Raunak Sadhwani was the favorite here, but Jonas has struck gold for his team. It seems the American Gambits are doing amazingly well in this match.
Great start for them so far. He still needs to put the ball in the back of the net, as we say. He still needs to finish things off. But right now, the black king is running. It's trying to hide. But Jonas Bjerre, he can swing the white queen across. There's various tempting checks.
He can give this check and then pick up the rook there.
That's right, Saga. And once he gets the rook back, it's level material, level pieces.
Does it?
He finds the key move.
Ooh. Wow.
And the black king is living its last few moments. It's doomed. This is a fatal attack. Saga, he found all the key moves at the right moment.
Yeah, it's like Jonas Bjerre just simply has to now make the last couple of accurate moves. He needs to pick up the rook, make sure that his king is safe, and it's absolutely safe because even if black gave one check, the king will simply tuck itself to the corner of the board and it's completely fine.
That's right, a good tip for everyone at home. Hide your kings in the corner, they're far safer there. Don't try to keep your king in the middle. Black's king has no shelter, no protection, and that is why white is going to win this game.
Absolutely, I don't see this game actually having any doubts now for the American Gambits. Raunak still moving confidently, but I see the result coming in pretty quickly, which means that now the only two boards left are the women's board, and Harika needs to strike because, you know, David, there has been certain updates happening on the other women board as well, but let's zoom in on board number 5 here.
Let's zoom in and check out a position where black still has 2 extra pawns. That was the case a lot earlier. We're in the endgame now, not that many pieces remaining, but it is Harika with black in the driver's seat. Can she hold her nerve? The clocks are so low right now. Boards 5 and 6 are the last ones remaining. Those started the latest of them all, and both sides under 2 minutes, Saga. It's going to get random now. It's going to get chaotic.
Right, and I guess until now we haven't seen pieces completely flying off because players have lost their games with couple of minutes on the clock, but this might be the one because right now Elizabeth Pates down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. So is the case with Harika.
That's right, and Harika needs to get points on the board for the Mumba Masters. They've suffered so far. 3 wins for the American Gambits with the white pieces, but this is the one consolation if Harika can do the business, and she's going to win now. She's got as many pieces off the board as possible.
She has now this extra pawn in this position, in fact 2 extra pawns, and this is going to be quite easy. She just has to make sure that she doesn't botch up the time on the clock, but otherwise she's in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, she looked a bit nervous the way she was moving the pieces, but suddenly finding her rhythm again. We're going to see the clock being banged as the players get down to their last 1 minute now. But this is a good tip for everyone at home as well. Black had 2 extra pawns, trade-off pieces, simplification, just like in mathematics, is the key. And that black pawn that she just pushed is soon going to become a queen or cost white her bishop.
Exactly, the knight comes to the party here and the a-pawn is running down the board. I think Harika's just making sure. There you can see the playing venue. Now the only board left. We already see all other games ending, but right now Harika keeps the final pawn there on the board with f5. She has 2 more pawns left. She's completely winning now.
Yes, every pawn is a future potential queen, and a knight alone would not be enough to win. She keeps her pawns alive, and Elizabeth Pates here just playing on. She knows she's lost, but she's playing for the clock. Her remaining pawns are about to drop. She offers her hand in resignation.
Harika wins there, but although Upgrad Mumba Masters score the win here, the American Gambits have been absolutely dominant on the other boards. We had Duda winning on board 2. We had BP Sara winning on board number 4, and we had Jonas Bjerre winning on board number 6, which means, David, it's an 11-6 victory for the American Gambits.
Yeah, big results. So many decisive games. 4 games decided out of the 6 in Game 1, Match 1 of the Global Chess League Season 2 saga. We couldn't have asked for more excitement today.
And absolutely the American Gambits making their debut but showing no nerves. They were like, oh, we can do this easily. The final moments of board number 4, Bibisara making a queen there. And there it was. I think the A-pawn simply queened. Humpy resigned.
Humpy resigned with white about to promote to a new queen. And the prodigy board, board 6, of course, decisive as well. We left this with Jonas Bjerre about to deliver checkmate, and the finishing touches applied here.
Oh, he found the checkmate there, David. That meant that the American team has been doing amazingly well here. 11 points they scored with 3 wins, 2 draws. Harika did strike for the upgrade Mumba Masters, but it was only good enough for 6 game points.
That's right, and momentum is so important in such a short event, and fantastic result. Beyond their wildest dreams for the American Gambits. A fantastic start. The players full of confidence as the results here are confirmed.
Right, and there we see the results in terms of the who won and lost, but you must remember for every white win there is 3 game points, while for every black win there are 4. So 11 points for the American Gambits. And 6 points for upgrade Mumba Masters. It's time to go down to the venue and let Tanya take over.